Shalom, shalom, Israel. It's Araya back again, and we have another video debunking the myths of the Christianity and my fellow brother and sisters that are call themselves Black Hebrew Israelites that are still practicing Christianity and have not came all the way over to the Torah and Tanak. So today's video, we're going to talk about the "Let Us." That's in Genesis 1 and 26. The infamous "Let us make man in our image." Most of the times when I talk to Christians, and these are Israelites included, they are Christians. You all follow the same doctrine. You just put blackface on it. But when I talk to you guys always ask, well, who is the "Let us make us a man? Let us make man in our image." Who is that? Who is that? Well, it is the angels, and I will prove it here today. All right. So Genesis 1 and 26 starts off, says, "And God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the earth, and over the cattle, and over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." Now, where else can we find this phrase right here? Let us make, let us, right? This simple phrase right here. Where else can we find this in the Bible, let alone in Genesis? Well, good news for you guys, because there it is present again in Genesis 3 times, right? So let us, boom. Genesis 3 and 22, yeah, Genesis 1 and 26, Genesis 3 and 22. "And the Lord thy God said, Behold, the man has become as one of us." So I ask, is this still talking about, quote unquote, the New Testament idol, Yahushua, Yahweh, or Jesus? Right? No, it's not. It's talking about the angels, the us, plural, right? The malaks. So we have another place in Genesis, Genesis 11, Genesis 11 and 7. He says, "Go to, let us go down, and therefore confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." Right? So there are 3 places where the "let us" is mentioned in Genesis. So now you're going to say, okay, all right, you still haven't proved that it's the angels. Okay, you're right, I haven't. But now is where we get to the good part, to where we're about to prove that it is the angels. And for that, we need to go into the book of Job, the 38th chapter. So we're in the book of Job, the 30th chapter, and we don't have to go down far, right? So to get the context, the Lord answered Job, because Job was questioning the Lord in the previous chapter, right? Okay, so the Most High answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, he asked them all these things. "Who is this that darketh the counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of you, and answer me thou. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding." So what days were the foundation of the earth laid back in Genesis, right? It was, if I'm not mistaken, day 2 or day 3. Who have laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest, or who has stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? And right here we will have the proof that the angels were there, that he was talking about the angels, and this is just one of the proof, because we're going to go some more. It's about proving that the angels were there. The angels are the "let us make man in our image." The angels are the "let us go down and confound the language." The angels are the man and woman has become as one of us with all knowledge. "When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy." Now we know that the angels are called sons of God, right? And how do we know this? Well, we know this by going to Job 1, same book, but the first chapter. And you go to verse 6. "Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Most High, and even Satan came also among them." Right? So they say, well, that's not enough for me. You need 2 witnesses. We also have another witness. Chapter 2 in verse 1. "Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them to present himself before the Lord." Okay? Right? Well, the next argument you guys present is, well, angels aren't men. Angels aren't men, etc. Well, I beg to differ. We have instances in Genesis where angels appeared as men. If you go to Genesis, the 18th chapter, and verses 1 through 3, we will see that our father Abraham saw three men, and they were angels. And we're going to read Genesis 1 through 3. Genesis 18 and 1, it says, "The Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted his eyes and looked, and lo, three men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself to the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant." Okay. Well, you say, brother writer, you need two witnesses, two or three witnesses. Okay. Well, we can go to chapter 19 and verse 1. When the angels came and visited him as men, and then they went and destroyed the city of God, Sodom and Gomorrah. So you have verse 19 and 1. "And then came two angels of Sodom at evening, and Lot sat at the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing that they rose up to meet them, and bowed his face toward the ground." Right? So, how do you know that those people were angels? You go back to the previous chapter, chapter 18, and you look at verses 16 and verses 22, and it says, "And the men rose up from this and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way." Right? And then down to verse 22, "And the men turned their faces from thence and went toward Sodom, and Abraham stood yet before the Lord." So those angels appeared as men. So when you go to 19 and 1, those same men are now turned back to angel form and went to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. So family, we have to stop interjecting and interpolating our own deities, our own thoughts, and our own words. We have to do what thus says. Drop the New Testament, come back into the Old Testament, come back into the Tanak, into the Torah, and come back to your culture and to your heritage. Leave the idol alone. Leave the New Testament alone. Okay? As you can see in the previous video, Daniel 9 and 25 through 27 was not a prophecy of the New Testament idol, and the "let us make man in our image" is definitely not the New Testament idol. Now, I hope you guys have learned something. Hit the like, subscribe button, and leave a comment below. Shalom, shalom.